Welcome back into the Pro Football Blitz right here on Benson and Benson.com, the sports betting network. Brady, Kannon, and James Salinas with you, and one of our favorite portions of the entire NFL weekend. It is hour number 2 of the program, and we bring in Jeffrey Benson and Derek Stevens of Circa Sports. Of course, Derek, the owner of the D and the Golden Gate, and right here, the Circa Resort and Casino. And it's the time of the program when we reveal the consensus picks for both Circa Survivor and the Circa Millions contest. Gentlemen, welcome back. Week 11. Can you believe, what's it, about 8 weeks before we have the sweat party, Derek?
That's right. It's getting close. The season's flying by.
I know. I can't believe we're more than halfway through at this point. I mean, we build up so much in the offseason, and here we are, week 11. But, gosh, I mean, the last 3 weeks have been carnage in Circa Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, Survivor, we were over 2,000 entries still alive 3 weeks ago, and wiped out. When you wipe out the number one consensus pick a couple weeks in a row, it starts diminishing pretty quickly.
All right, Jeff, we'll start with you. This is week number 2, correct, of the quarterly contest for Circa Millions?
Correct. So this is the second week of the third quarter, as you alluded to. And then just a couple of housekeeping notes in terms of the overall lead. We have 2 people right now. They're currently 38-12 through 50 picks, so hitting right about 76%. So 2 leaders right now with 38 points, and they're about 1.5 points ahead of the field. Not too shabby, 76%. They're on quite a pace, and especially through 11 weeks. That's really amazing.
Yeah, 38-12 is really amazing. It's enough that I know that tomorrow morning I'm gonna jot down both these contestants and watch their plays. I mean, it just has been consistent. I mean, they both went 4-1 again last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and to have two contestants that are tied, but they're up 1.5 points. I mean, it's actually kind of a sizable lead when you think about this many entries.
You know, James Salinas and I, we tied. I had the highest winning percentage ever when we won the Super Contest, and James tied me a few weeks or a few years later, and then it was eventually broken. CH Ballers hit 76% when they won. James and I both hit 72.5%. So this guy at 76 through 11 weeks, I mean, you just said he went 4-1. They just keep doing it. I mean, you would think it would fall off eventually, but we aren't seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously as you expand the fields and the fields get deeper, obviously, you know, you're going to have a couple people who run into just historically great seasons. And, you know, that's certainly what we see with the 2 top of the leaders who are sitting there through 11 weeks.
All right, let's get to the consensus 5, the top 5 most popular picks in the Circa Millions. Mr. Benson.
So they are as follows for Week 11. The Colts +7 versus the Buffalo Bills. That was the number 1 overall selection. That had a total of 1,155 picks. Working our way down, the Vikings +1.5 versus the Green Bay Packers. That was the 2nd overall choice with 1,128 selections. The Ravens -4.5 with Lamar Jackson being questionable versus the Bears. That was the number 3 overall choice with 1,107 selections. The Dolphins -3 versus the Jets with 1,076 selections was the 4th most popular choice this week. And then last but not least, the Seahawks +2 against the Arizona Cardinals with a total of 1,050 selections. So to recap, Colts +7, Vikings +1.5, Ravens -4.5, Dolphins -3, and then the Seahawks +2 as your top 5 consensus picks here in the Circa Million in Week 11.
I think that's a pretty interesting list, James. I kind of expected the Vikings to be there. That seems like a very popular side this week going against the Green Bay Packers. You and I talked about the Dolphins and the Jets, and pretty much not a lot of love there for the Jets at any time. So no surprise there to see the Dolphins as one of the most popular picks. But I'm a little surprised by the rest of them. I know you like the Colts. Are you surprised to see that at number 1?
Well, I like the Colts +7, and a lot of times, sometimes you're betting teams. In some cases, you're betting numbers. In this case, I'm betting the team with the good number +7. I think the one that's kind of surprising to me is the Ravens. Now, I know that Chicago is really banged up on the defensive side. Linebacker, their front 7 is really decimated right now going into this game against the Baltimore Ravens. But the status of Lamar Jackson, they did just bring up Trace McSorley off the practice squad. He is active on that 53-man roster for Sunday's matchup in case he's not there. They usually do that unless there's some issues with the quarterback position. So something to keep in mind, Al, but that one I think is probably the most surprising just with the fact that we just don't know the status with Lamar Jackson.
Jeff, is this unusually heavy where we have all 5 selections over 1,000 people on that side? Have you had that more than once this season?
Yeah, I would say typically you
Okay.
see that, and obviously as you work your way deeper into the season, a lot of that stuff's going to be a little bit more condensed. Obviously, with certain games, there's just much more popularity on when you look at both teams, and then obviously you look at some of these other matchups that maybe aren't as popular. Whether it's the Bucks or some of these teams that have bigger spreads as you work kind of your way down, and those aren't as popular choices as maybe the spreads that are single digits. That's certainly been something that we've seen overall so far in the first 11 weeks.
Are you guys seeing, now that we are into week 11, we're obviously getting pretty deep into the season, contest play becomes, I think, more scrutinized, and how people want to employ game theory versus just, how they might just go to the window and bet. I imagine early in the season, this is similar what you see at the window. Is it different now, or are you seeing these teams bet at the counter as well?
Yeah, I would say great point. I think obviously as you get later into the season, and particularly in the latter half of the weeks of the quarters, I think you maybe see people pivot a little bit. And obviously if you know that you're X amount of games behind, whether it's for the quarter or for the season long, you kind of have to make up some ground. So I think you'll see a little bit more contrarian play later in the year, as opposed to maybe consensus stuff early in the year. But it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the year plays out.
All right, Derek, Circa Survivor. What was it, 172 people still remaining?
We have 173 going in,
Okay,
going
173.
into week 11 here. So, yeah, I guess theoretically every ticket's worth a little bit more than what $33,000 right now. As this keeps escalating. So yeah, so this week obviously the number of selections, the nominal number's down just because there's only 173 left. The number one selection, which I think everybody can understand, would be the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
This is
going against your Lions once again.
Absolutely, which is kind of interesting after
everybody out
after
right?
the Lions took so many people out last week with their tie against the Steelers. The individuals that did not go against the Lions, they are still eligible, and they're coming back, thinking the Lions might have played the game of the year last week. I mean. So Browns with 88 selections, so more than 50% of the pool is Cleveland. The number 2 selection this week are the Tennessee Titans with 38 selections. Number 3 were the Tampa Bay Bucks with 22. New England Patriots with 11 selections, and the LA Chargers with 5. There's five more teams that were selected. So overall, there's a total of 10 teams that were selected. But those are the top 5 in this week's Circa Survivor.
James, we were talking about this last week, and you and Derek were kind of going back and forth on whether or not we were talking about, strategizing, keeping teams around for Thanksgiving. Obviously, that's coming up in week 12 next week. That's 2 separate weeks of Circa Survivor. We were talking about Christmas as well. I mean, do you guys, is it a favorite now that we will not make it to Christmas?
I don't know about not making it to Christmas, but I would say, I've been asked over the course of the last week, is it going to take something to go? Is somebody going to go 20-0? And I said, right now, I think someone going undefeated and going 20-0, that is now the underdog. I don't believe someone's going to have to go 20-0 to win Circa Survivor. So I do think, after seeing what's happened the last few weeks, if I'm a current entrant, I am definitely evaluating the pot a little bit differently. I may now value a week, like for the week 20, week 19, the last 2 selections, maybe differently. If I had someone circled for the last 2 weeks of the season, I may not have them circled anymore. I would focus in more on the near term and then deal with it later, because there is a good chance you're not going to have to get to the end of the year to finish up this Survivor.
I think that's a great point. I don't play in Survivor, but that is absolutely interesting. And James, I'd like to hear your take on that, because I think you're right. It's probably a favorite that we won't make it all the way to the final week. Nobody's going to go 20-0, or at least that looks likely right now. Would you look that way, the way Derek's talking about? Maybe you've got the Buccaneers, a couple of powerhouses kind of penciled in for the final week. Maybe you use them sooner if this contest is expected to expire sooner.
you have to. And thinking about when you're down to just 173 folks, or I guess no love for Tim Boyle tomorrow for the Detroit Lions rolling out there, but not only for thinking about all the way to Christmas in a few weeks, I'm just looking ahead. If you look ahead past Thanksgiving into Week 12 for the Sunday matchups, I don't know. Are we going to have – I don't think we're going to have any double-digit favorites out here. And these are some really tough games we might see not only after this weekend, more so I think most of these are going to survive. I can't see Detroit being able to go in and beat the Browns in Cleveland. But next Sunday, I think that's where we talk about carnage every week. And I know there's not that many entries left here, but I think that's – of all the weeks now that we've gone through, Week 12 come next Sunday, November 28th, I think that is going to be a really challenging week. It's going to be really interesting to see where those numbers lie after next Sunday.
Yeah, James, I completely agree with you. I think the way you evaluated it is right on. Hey, I do want to make one public service comment. Maybe, Jeff, you want to make it here. This is a very special week. We've had 2 good weeks where no one's missed their entries, but obviously with the schedule next week, things changed. Jeff, you want to update everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously next week will be the first holiday week for us. It'll be Thanksgiving week. So if you do, or make it through Week 11, and obviously you're heading into Week 12, please make sure that you make your Thanksgiving pick on time, that you go online, that you read the rules, you understand the deadline, and make sure you get your picks in. Obviously, if you're lucky enough to, get through Thanksgiving, then obviously you'll be on to the weekend as well.
Yeah, 2 separate weeks, the Thursday games and the Sunday games, and hopefully you make it out of there and on to Week 13 in the NFL. Gentlemen, have a great weekend. Thank you, as always, for joining us here on the Pro Football Blitz.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brady.
All right, that's Derek Stevens and Jeffrey Benson. We'll be back diving more into the